Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's episode, we're going to go through a few books again. It's been a while. Today's pick is The Black Swan by Nassim Taleb. It's a bold and thought-provoking book. You can say almost mind-expanding. It basically sheds the light on how unpredictable events usually shape our lives way more than the predictable ones. It also explains why uncertainty isn't a weakness. It explains further that uncertainty is actually where real growth happens, if anything. For life isn't a straight line and definitely not a script that we can read ahead. If anything, it's chaos, beauty, shock, sometimes or often even, and opportunity. Basically reminds us that the most important shifts in our lives come from the unimaginable and not the expected. So maybe it's not about fearing uncertainty. Maybe it's about welcoming the unknown. Because sometimes what we haven't expected to happen might be the exact thing we need to rise. You probably experienced that. Like, for example, I'm gonna give an example from my personal life. There are times where things where blessings happened and where they were blessings in disguise, like losing a certain job to find something way better for me, or having to move from a place, like I have to face these inevitable situations where I must move, and it turns out the place I moved to is way better. So like sometimes these unexpected events can be blessings in disguise. Sometimes they can build character, make us stronger, make us more resilient, make us take turns in life that we never expected to, but turns out to work to our favor. And I've experienced that at different times in my life. So I confirm. What is a black swan? It's an unexpected event that has a huge impact. Almost no one predicted. But afterwards, everyone tries to explain it as if it was obvious. Let's take an example on a social scale or country scale, like 9/11 misfortunate event, the 2008 financial crash, a personal life event you never saw coming. So these are simply and merely examples of unexpected events. Black Swan isn't the storm you saw coming. It's rather the one that rewrites your whole life map without warning. Why do most of us fear uncertainty? And why we shouldn't really? Because we live in a society that mostly we're taught to value control, prediction, no surprises, and it gives us a sense of security and safety. We feel we know what we're dealing with, we like what's familiar. And Taleb, here the author, shows us that the real life-changing moments, they mostly come from these unpredictable events. They come from the unknown, not from careful planning as we think. It's true that uncertainty can hold the biggest dangers, but it also can hold the biggest opportunities. And so when we fear the unknown, we close these doors for what can be our biggest life opportunities and powerful possibilities. Our next book for today, Feeling Good Handbook by David D. Burns. It's a really, really good book. It's like rich with information, at the same time practical, and goes into these details and guides you on techniques how to deal with thoughts, emotions, or anything you can face in your daily life. It's focused on cognitive behavioral therapy. I think it's one of the really most effective psychological ways that helps us cope with life in general. It includes techniques that can treat depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and stress, etc. So as we said, it's detailed and practical. If you don't struggle with any of these, I mean, almost every one of us struggle with some stress or anxiety in our life now and then, but it just assists you to be a more positive person, more aware and focused, mostly aware of all these hindrances in these, let's call them invisible hindrances that stand in the way. He mentions cognitive distortions. I'm not going to talk much about them because I've already talked about them in a previous episode. You can see the link below and watch them again if you like. I'll just mention them really fast. Cognitive distortions is when people suffer emotionally because of their distorted thinking. They are inaccurate and negatively biased thoughts. Burns identifies common distortions such as all or nothing thinking, black or white thinking, overgeneralization, seeing a single event as a never-ending pattern. Mental filter, which is focusing on the negative, disqualifying the positive, rejecting positive experiences, jumping to conclusions, which can be mind reading and fortune telling. Magnification or minimization, blowing things out of proportion or shrinking them. Emotional reasoning, I feel it, so it must be true. So you just rely on your emotions for feedback or information. Should statements, they're usually self-critical rules, I should, I must. Labeling is a form of extreme generalization, like I didn't get this job, so I must be a failure. I must be a loser. Personalization, naming oneself for things outside of one's control. He goes through distortion thinking. Then he brings up the cognitive model, where he clarifies that feelings are created by thoughts rather than external events alone. Change your thoughts to change your feelings. For example, it's not the bad event itself only, but rather how your interpretation of it that can lead to depression and anxiety so often. Then he explains mood logs and thought records. First suggests the very effective way of writing down your negative thoughts or upsetting thoughts. Then identify distortions and substitute more realistic thoughts. And this is the practical heart of this therapy, which is catching, identifying, and changing these negative thoughts or negative thoughts patterns. Then he talks about behavioral techniques that can help us to, for example, overcome depression, anxiety, fear, procrastination. To do so, he explains action is crucial. These techniques can include pleasure predicting sheets. So you can simply schedule pleasant activities, have a daily schedule activity, and exposing yourself gradually to feared situations. It helps with anxiety. Like I have few experiences with that too. For example, I had to perform a public speaking once, and I definitely was so scared. But I knew like I have to do it, right? So I did it anyways. I did stand there shaking for a while. My voice was trembling for a while. But then I got through it. I started to feel more relaxed the longer I was talking, and the people interacting made it easier, made it feel more normal, made me just really focus on the thoughts I'm sharing instead of what could go wrong and how do I look right now, etc. And with every time I kept doing it, it started to get easier and feel more normal, feel more spontaneous and normal. Then, anti-procrastination sheet. Again, you can include it in the schedule. Then he talked about self-esteem and self-image. We know this is really crucial. Self-image and self-esteem is basically believing in yourself and your strength and your capacity. Sometimes it helps you to move forward, to take risks, to overcome challenges, to bounce back. It's really, really important. Even in these situations when we have faced rejection, whether in relationships, applying for a job, etc., you don't lose faith in yourself. You keep going. You try over and over again. He emphasizes that true self-esteem doesn't come from achievements, looks, or approval. It actually comes from unconditional self acceptance, which is the foundation and the basis of everything else. Like, if you have enough self esteem, you will have the courage to take these steps to accomplish your tasks, to take risks, etc. Right? He makes it clear that what matters is that we know that we are valuable simply because we exist, we are alive, not because of a certain achievement, a certain expectation. We meet certain expectations of other people, society maybe, etc. Because again, this is like the basis that help us to achieve or to choose our unique path in life and feel this inner satisfaction and inner peace. Then he mentions the importance of handling criticism in a healthy way. Like, don't automatically believe criticism from others. You can use disarming techniques. What is that? You can agree with any truth you find in the criticism, if there is any, of course, without getting defensive. It's so important that you separate your self-worth from your mistakes. We're humans, we make mistakes. That's fine. As long as we learn from them and able to forgive ourselves and others maybe and just move forward, right? It serves no one to get stuck in that. He also mentions ways to deal with anxiety and depression, as we said before. He explains that anxiety is basically driven by catastrophic thoughts. Like, we're always in this worry survival mode, like, oh, something bad's gonna happen. He encourages us to use exposure techniques and thought correction to face fears. He tells us to accept and welcome anxiety or anxious feelings instead of fighting or resisting them. Because once we fight them or resist them, we're only empowering them. We're feeling stressed about feeling stressed or anxious. Relationships and communication. The book introduces 5 secrets of effective communication. We mentioned already one, which is disarming technique. Maybe find truth in what the other person is saying and don't get defensive and take it personally as much as possible. Empathy, whether in thinking or feeling. Inquiry, ask for more information and be able to actually actively listen. Like, don't listen to respond, simply to respond. Listen to actually get to know what the other person is thinking, feeling, what's their feedback, etc. What's the message they want to deliver. I feel statements. This is really important and mostly important, particularly important during disagreements or arguments. So it encourages you to share feelings properly, openly, and clearly, but without the blaming game. How you feel about it. Stroking is finding something genuinely, we stress the word genuinely, positive, genuine respect for the other person. In the book, he goes as far as discussing serious issues like feelings of hopelessness that can lead to dark places. But he also explains that even these thoughts of hopelessness and dark thoughts are actually cognitive distortions too. While they might feel so true, they aren't. He shows exercises to build up bit by bit. So he assists you with technical and practical exercises and guidance. He explains that recovery is a process. Of course, depression and anxiety don't lift instantly. Like you can't get rid of them instantly. It involves daily practice, catching distortions, very important to catch distortions, as he says, challenging them, and taking action even when you don't feel like it. Finally, remember your feelings aren't necessarily facts. They're just reflections of your thoughts. By using these tools, you can stop reacting to your moods and start actively creating a more rational and peaceful life. Thank you for watching. Till next time, stay well.